Chronicle of the Basel Mission in India, in a nutshell, to the members of the Basel Mission community. As early as the year 1815, September 26th, the Basel Mission was founded by a small group of devout men who met at Basel City, Switzerland, committed to work among the downtrodden and marginalized. This mission was named after the great, blessed Basel City with a vision focused on development of human society and human culture, especially on the side of socio-economy including ethics. The Basel Mission came into being as a result of a pledge taken by a few dedicated men at Basel in the face of a military threat. It was the year 1815 when Napoleon had escaped from the island of Elba from the prison and landed in France. The war continued in Europe. The city of Basel was very close to the borders of Germany and France. The French general Barbonage threatened to blow up Basel. A group of pious men pledged to start training of missionaries if God would spare their city. The Tatars and the Kalmucks marched through Basel to invade France with the Russian army, and this made the people even more convinced regarding their pledge. The French general capitulated and Napoleon met his doom at Waterloo. In the same year, on the 26th of September 1815, 6 pious men gathered in the rectory of St. Martin in Basel and constituted the Missionary Society of Basel, fulfilling the pledge. The Basel Mission opened its stations in Western Russia, Gold Coast in West Africa, followed by China, Latin America and Borneo, etc. As India was governed by the British government and as the main aim of the British government was trade, it did not encourage any social work, evangelistic work or any agency other than trade. However, the revision of the Chapter 1833, the government's East India Companies Act, was amended, which removed this obstacle and opened the doors to non-British missions to start its stations in India. Taking full advantage of this clearance, Basel Mission sent its first 3 missionaries to India. Having set up many stations in Europe, the financial position of the Basel Mission Society decided to set up institutions in areas of India. On 12 February 1834, Basel Mission decided to send 3 missionaries to India to establish Basel Mission stations. They became the first continental society, other than the Tranquebar Mission, to take up work in India. The 3 missionaries were Johann Christopher Lehner, Christian Leonhard Greiner, and Samuel Hebeck, who set out on 31st March 1834 from Basel and landed in coastal Calicut on 21st August 1834, and moved on to Mangalore on 30th October 1834, where they were joined by 4 more missionaries. The missionaries felt that the best way to fellowship with the locals was to learn the local languages and to keep them well occupied in some productive work. Hence, they got involved in the industrial sector in Mangalore, in addition to learning the local languages such as Kannada, Tulu, Malayalam, and Konkani. The original commission with which the missionaries were sent to India was to establish schools and also institutions for training future missionaries. The mission of educating was considered important. So wherever there was to be a congregation, there had to be an elementary teacher. Besides elementary education, they also began to train people to be missionaries as early as 1840. The field experience soon made the missionaries feel that they needed to involve themselves in creating some remunerative jobs rather than just educating people. The main task that the missionaries faced was to solve the economic backwardness of a large number of people. The traditional professions were considered not adequate or not acceptable. Thus, alternate jobs had to be found, and the missionaries did their best to provide the same. In the year 1846, the Basel Mission started an industrial school to train people in weaving, carpentry, clockmaking, blacksmithy, printing technology, etc., with the help of some local artisans. Since mission could not fulfill the expectations of the missionaries, an industrial commission was appointed to look at the various industrial opportunities. In 1848, 2 lay missionaries, Bosinger and Muller, were sent from Basel to India, South Canada, to teach some new trades. These missionaries were by profession carpenters and a locksmith. They were well trained in watch and clock making in Swiss watch companies before they were sent to India. They set a watch and a clock manufacturing company in Mangalore and handed over the same to the local people. The first important industrial undertaking which met with success was the printing press with the bookbinding department attached to it. The printing press was started in 1841 at Mangalore. The first lithograph and later Kannada types were introduced. In 1851, a printer from Basel came with Kannada fonts types for the press at Mangalore. The press thus provided employment to numerous people. Besides spiritual literature, books related to social science, arts and literature were also published at the press. A few well-known works which came out of this press were weekly and monthly newspapers, magazines, Kittle's Kannada English Dictionary, Ziegler's English Kannada Dictionary, Herman Gundert Malayalam English, English Malayalam English Tulu dictionaries, the Kannada Bible, the hymn books in Kannada, Tulu and Malayalam, in addition to a supportive tune book with music scrolls. Since the press was expanding, a large new building was built in 1913, giving regular employment to the people. A binding section attached to the press provided employment to many more. A separate bookshop was opened in 1869 to sell the publications of the press. Locksmith technology was taught to the locals, who were absorbed by rich entrepreneurs in Bombay and established independent larger scale industries manufacturing clocks and safes. In 1844, the missionaries, who knew a little about weaving business, took initiative and started a weaving industry to give employment. Local weavers were also employed to train young boys. But soon they found that the local looms could not compete with the Western mills. In 1851, Mr. Haller, a weaver from Basel, was sent to Mangalore. Basel Mission management erected a building to house a medium-scale industry in Bangalore with 21 handlooms of European construction and a research and dye house. Mr. Haller was the inventor of the color khaki, and khaki cloth, now known all over the world, was first produced in Mangalore. Soon, the weaving industry proved to be very successful, providing more employment and motivated many a cottage industry. In the year 1853, a branch was opened in Mulki. The apprentices in this industry were also taught tailoring and embroidery, and by 1870, the Basel Mission weaving and hosiery establishments in various places were not only paying for the cost of the establishments, but was also lucrative. In the year 1851 to 1852, when the mission faced failure in its agriculture progress and only partial success in industrial enterprises, the visit of an inspector from Basel proved to be very valuable and resulted in introducing a new policy to guide the industrial enterprise in South Kannada. Though the Industrial Commission was formed in 1846, it did not get involved in much business, but the new outlook and stress for greater involvement gave a boost to the Commission. In the year 1852, the Commission was made a department of the Basel Missionary Society with a separate treasury. One of the most eminent citizens of Basel, Mr. Carl Saracen, was the president of the same. The Commission felt that top management technique to manage all the existing industries be implemented. In the year 1854, the Industry Commission at Basel sent Mr. Flyderer to India for this purpose. He was responsible for the purchasing of the raw materials and the sale of the finished products. This was the beginning of the commercial enterprise of the mission, which aimed not at financial profit but teaching as to how to conduct business on Christian principles. As work of the industrial and commercial activities required larger capital, a joint stock company was formed under the name Mission Handelsgesellschaft, Mission Trading Company, that is. The new policy gave birth to major industries, and the first was a tile manufacturing company. The tile industry progressed so well, and in 1877 the second factory was opened, and the third one in 1880. These factories employed both men and women. The reports showed that by 1913 the tile factories were employing 2,000 workers and were producing 60,000 tiles a day. In 1874, the mechanical workshop was founded to train apprentices in jobs like carpentry, blacksmithy, locksmithy, and watchmaking. The apprentices were given theoretical and practical training, followed by the certification by the British government examinations in these trades. This provided technical training and produced many skilled artisans. The product of this workshop was also very much appreciated, and the proof of this in the order issued in 1912, where the government of Madras declared the Basel Mission mechanical establishment as eligible for supplying safes for governmental institutions. It is also recorded that its products won awards at various industrial exhibitions. Though all these efforts started in a small way, by 1914 it had become a major enterprise in South Kannada. Though the Basel Mission industrial enterprises were often criticized by the British, they inspired many other missionary societies to start work on similar lines. In 1914, at the outbreak of the First World War, the industrial establishment of Basel Mission was confiscated by the British government to be a German organization. This created a setback for the Basel Mission's work in India. After the war, the industries were managed under the Commonwealth Trust. Definite economic benefit was achieved through these numerous industries for the society in particular and India in general. However, many had to leave the district, especially the carpenters and blacksmiths, because of lack of openings in South Kannada. Since 1879, most of them migrated to Mumbai. They built buildings for orphanages, schools, home for the aged, widows and poor, sick houses with nursing care, residences for the missionaries, cemetery for the community, church buildings, meeting rooms, seminary hospital, boarding homes. List goes on and on. Basel missionaries believed that education can bring changes in the caste system. Their tremendous contribution and concern for spiritual, social, and economical development of local people is a living example. History is the witness that the missionary sacrifices resulted in the emergence of a new society. After the outbreak of the First Great War of 1914, all the properties of the Basel Mission in India were confiscated by the British government and vested in the custodian of enemy property, Madras. Later, under the orders of the Governor General and Council, the said properties were released by registered deed. However, throughout the period, the said properties continued to be in use and enjoyment of the indigenous Basel Mission community as before without any break, which was vested in the missionary body known as the Canaries Evangelical Mission under the Mission Trust of Southern India, Madras. Immediately after the British Parliament permitted the missionaries to return to India, the Basel Mission, which is the original owners, resumed its work in 1926 in its former sphere of operation in the three ecclesiastical districts, namely 1. South Kannada and Coorg, 2. Malabar, and 3. Bombay, Karnataka. These districts consisted of people belonging to three different languages, food habits, and cultural backgrounds, namely 1. The Kannada and Tulu, 2. Malayalam, 3. Kannada with Marathi influence background. In 1833, the Basel Mission relinquished its control over all the Basel Mission churches in these three ecclesiastical districts units and came to be constituted on the 17th 10 1933 as the autonomous body of United Basel Mission Church in India. Each of the three district units being independent entities vested with control of the affairs of the churches by the church elders, the district church council and the district church board within its limits under the revised constitution and church rules with effect from 17/10/1933. Each of these district units became autonomous, independent of all control by Basel Mission, Switzerland. Representatives of these district units constituted a committee known as Synod in order to keep these three district units united. Its functions are restricted to only within the district church units. A. To hear the reports of the church and mission work of each district. B. To suggest such measures of uniformity as may be necessary for the mission and church work in the three districts. C. To give suggestions on problems pertaining to, firstly, the spiritual life and work of the different churches of the district units. Secondly, the common evangelist activities of the church and the mission of the district units. Thirdly, the church union within the district unit. And finally, the administration of the church properties and funds, etc. Continuing on. D. To decide finally all questions of faith and order in the United Basel Mission Church of India, provided that all such decisions are arrived at by a majority of 3/4 in its total strength. In order to safeguard the immovable properties, the Basel Mission, a society incorporated in Switzerland, relinquished its rights over the same and transferred the same under gift settlement deeds, with no power to revoke the same, giving exclusive and absolute ownership and beneficiary rights to UBMC in India, a distinctive autonomous religious society governed by its own constitution, independent of any and all control by the Basel Mission Switzerland or the Evangelical Missionary Society of Basel, Switzerland. These documents were registered in the office of the Registrar Madras, Chengalpet, on 27/10/1935 and on 29/11/1939. The light that casted from the Basel had shone in the lives of our forefathers, local people, transforming them and the posterity into the Basel Mission community, briefly identified as simple, noble, yet serious and sincere spiritually, without pomp. A singing and praying community also known as the dowry-free community in India. Members of the Basel Mission community have spread all over India and abroad as bright stars and have a galaxy of luminaries consisting of intellectuals, educators, doctors, artists, architects, builders, social workers, telecommunication experts, journalists, highly talented technologists, successful entrepreneurs and industrialists, marketing specialists, pastors and theologians. especially the Basel Mission community of South Kannada, are interrelated families. One kutumba, the sprawling with grandeur, with the ultra-modern building, the Basel Missionaries Memorial Auditorium being built in Udupi, close to the Basel Mission Lombard Memorial Hospital, is a token of gratitude to the Basel missionaries and their visions and commitment. The sprawling, with splendor of appearance, multi-purpose auditorium with a seating capacity of 1,200, a mission hall to accommodate 250 people, dining hall for 500 people with kitchen facility, roof top open air party hall to accommodate 600 people, 5 double bed guest rooms with attached bathrooms, spacious green rooms with toilets, separate washrooms and toilets, and lift facility from basement to rooftop is a feather on the cap of the Basel Mission community, as it is in the first of its kind in India. Successful organizations are those managed by leaders who either consciously or unconsciously apply the principle of coordinated effort. If the Basel Mission community can grasp this principle and apply it, the community can achieve whatever it wishes to. Indeed, the sky is the limit.